Short experience because I'm here for only a day and I'm here to talk about one specific thing. So unfortunately I don't have that much experience yet, but what I've heard so far in the seminar was really interesting. The orchestra, the Copenhagen Philharmonic wanted to open up the orchestra. They have this feeling that classical music can be hard to get to. It's a little bit elitist and maybe hard to understand. And so they wanted to bring that down a level, to make it playful, to make it something that we can just get right into, jump into. And I think very much inspired by projects that look similar, like for instance the virtual choir, the Johnny Cash project, a lot of collaborative projects where a lot of people come together, contribute to a whole. That was one of the starting points. And then we looked at stuff like Lego, like how can we make it playful and play around and make it more like a game, less than an actual, or like a symphony orchestra. Yeah, so that's where we began, I guess. Yes, definitely. I mean, there's this Chinese saying that I usually like to say, is that tell me something and I'll forget, show me something I might remember, but involve me in something and I'll understand. And I think in order for us to understand things in life, we need to be involved with them. So per definition, interactivity and interaction design plays a crucial role. And if you want to tell a story, if you tell a story where audiences are interacting with the story, they will not only just see and be told a story, but they will actually feel and be involved with the story. And that has great potential. When you talk about documentaries that are interactive in context to society, a lot of times interactivity has its barrier of being something where technology has to help you. We have to have internet or touch screens or smartphones. But as one of the projects here at interDocs showed really well, you can also just have a phone line where you can call and you can leave a message. And the user-generated content from that can then be distributed back to the people who this is about. And you don't need high technology. And so you can really, with the technology there is today, everyone can get involved with interactivity. And I think that's the interesting thing, because it wasn't so before. This is something that's new, and this is something that we need to understand. And it can have great impact. And it can also have no impact, but it can definitely have great impact. I think we will stop calling it web documentary and interactive documentary. I think we will understand at some point that it's like when Lumiere brothers, they had this train. It came into the station, and people in the cinema they ran out of the cinema because they thought the train was actually coming into the station. So in a time where we have virtual reality, augmented reality, game worlds, massive online things, we are starting to figure out that this isn't so crazy after all. This is just another way of experiencing stories. And I think the line between calling something I just think it will disappear and it'll just be a story. And you'll just talk about a story, and maybe you got it told in a linear fashion where someone said, listen, sit down, I'm going to tell you a story. It's going to begin here, it's going to end here. And that's fine. That's a story, but it could also be a story where you have to be a participant, and we won't differentiate as audiences. We won't notice the difference. I guess bad interaction design is what can be the problem. I'm a big fan of user-centric design, where you put your audience as a main character in your story, and you see them as a part of playing the story. So you design the world around what would that person do? What would I do now? What if I don't know what to do? Then what would I do? And in order to create great design, you have to think from the perceiver's eyes, or from the perceiver's position. And I think that can be the hardest. If people do bad interaction design, it becomes um, it becomes boring, or it becomes confusing, or it becomes annoying because it doesn't work the way you want it to work, and that will just kill everything. The whole story will be, no matter how good a story you have, it will just die. Mostly the challenge was, actually, I thought the challenge would be the interaction design and the technical side. Like, how do we put a lot of synchronized video together and all that stuff. But that was not the problem at all. The problem was going out to classical musicians and telling them to be part of this, to shoot themselves without an orchestra. Because usually a classical orchestra, they're used to having someone next to them playing a violin and someone playing the cello over here, and so they kind of feed off each other, and suddenly they were all alone. So it became, we had to take it a lot of takes with them in order to really feel that they got the way to do it. It's just it's a more conservative world, the classical world, and I think that was a challenge, and also something that would probably be a challenge for users of the world that I orchestra. How will they manage to get on? Right now we've only seen actually the international portions. I mean, what I can sense is that the interDocs I like the focus on international projects because the digital scene is per definition international and global. So in order for us to keep up with times as content producers and makers, we have to look at a global scene, and we have to be able to learn from each other quickly instead of making the same mistakes again and again. For the Woo is simple. It's going to be built to a final version, so not a beta version anymore. And it's going to be released so that people will start contributing. And then there's two other sides of the project that I haven't discussed, but those will be also produced in the meantime. So we'll have an installation as well as an app, and it will all be the World Online Orchestra. And for me, I'm going to build the Woo, but then I'm going to leave it because, of course, that's the nature of it. You build it and then you give it to the classical musicians or all musicians. So I'm going to do something else. I'm going to make an app which I'm building at the moment that's called Reco, which is a sound sharing app. So if I record a sound, the sound is left where I recorded it. So if I record it here, then you can listen to the sound, but you have to be exactly here where I am. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a dogma that I'd like to see what people will use for. Perhaps leave a message for someone they love, or leave a song for someone, or whatever they want. That's my next plan.